Hi, I'm Rachel, and I'm here to do a quick recap of the two novellas that I just read this week, courtesy of Minerva Rising Press. I first heard about Minerva Rising when I was submitting my short story skydiving to places, and they had an opening for their fourth issue of their magazine, which had to do with mother-daughter relationships, and that fit my short story perfectly, and they ended up accepting it and publishing it a few years ago. But since then, they started by producing like a quarterly literary journal for women's writing, but they now also publish a variety of longer forms of writing, from poetry collections and novellas, and now I think getting a little into memoirs. So for the past couple of years, they've had a novella contest, and a poetry contest too, but I'm focusing on novellas, and they've published two novellas that have won their contests, so I got my hands on both of them and thought I might give them a read. The first one from 2014 is this one, called Soon to Be a Motion Picture by Judith Arcana. And fun fact, it was actually sold out at the Minerva Rising webpage, which, by the way, I'll link below. But I was able to find it somewhere else. This writer has connections in the Portland area, and I found it through this particular organization, Antiquated Future, which publishes zines and I think indie music, and is just sort of a local little powerhouse of its own. So I ordered from them, and they were able to send this to me. I imagine it was a little befuddling, perhaps, that someone 2,300 miles away was that interested, but you know. So here's a little bit about Judith Arcana, the writer. This bio says that she writes poems, stories, essays, and books. Her work appears in journals and anthologies online and in paper. Her books include this book about Grace Paley called Grace Paley's Life Stories, a Literary Biography, the poetry collection What If Your Mother, and the poetry chapbook Fourth Period English. Her most recent publications are a chapbook of poems, The Parachute Jump Effect from 2012, a prose fiction zine, Keisha and Joni and Jane, from 2013, the Jane is all caps, and a set of 3 broadsides, The Water Portfolio, from 2014, which in 2013/14, a sandwich was named for her at the lovely and amazing Fleur de Lis bakery/cafe in Portland. And then there's some information about how you can listen to her read poetry on SoundCloud and Kobo, and Kaboo, and, you know, her website. She further says about this book in her author's note, this chapbook is fiction that's been drawn from life and invented. The style and content express my literary and political influences, both my experience in doing underground/illegal abortion work and my experience writing, like coloring, outside the lines. Reading Grace Paley, an American master of short fiction, helped me understand that I don't have to use quotation marks for dialogue, and I don't have to make up transitions when moving from one place or character to another. About that, Grace said, I like to take a big jump. I feel like this author's note kind of explains why I didn't really like this this story that much. I couldn't really connect to it. I mean, I respect that she is trying to be innovative and to, you know, emulate somebody who she admires. But I like quotation marks, I like transitions, I like well-defined characters. And I believe this was a very intriguing idea. The story is sort of this narration about somebody dictating the type of movie that they want to make in Hollywood, which has to do with illegal abortions, and I believe, I would assume, the stuff that she has dealt with in her own life politically. And it's just mostly rambling narration about an idea for a movie, and occasional scenes and dialogue that the narrator has thought up. But I just didn't find it compelling as a story. But I do see why perhaps Minerva Rising would be interested in this, because Minerva Rising is billing itself as a press that is interested in the lives and the issues of women, and what better fits that than abortion rights and access to abortions. This second book, which won in 2016, worked a lot better for me. It's called Pilgrim by Jule Stielstra. It's a bit longer, 130 pages, and definitely more of a traditional narrative. I'll read from the back. It says, Julie Stielstra's short stories have appeared in the Bellevue Literary Review, Potomac Review, New Plains Review, Zahir Tales, among others. Pilgrim is her first published long-form work. And then there's this blurb about the book from the contest judge, Erica Roebuck. Pilgrim is unique and revelatory. There's an earthiness, a grit, that I found satisfying as it contrasted to the ethereal matters of soul and heart explored on its pages. The characters are slowly, perfectly revealed. They are human, authentic, real enough to step from the page. In addition to the loftier matters tackled in the story, the plot and sensory detail in Pilgrim kept me turning pages. It is a perfect work, and I am in awe of its writer. I think that ending might be taking things a little far, but I also thought this was very well done. This takes place in medieval ages, starting in a French village. We're introduced to our narrator, Pascal, who is a little girl, and her parents. Her father is this drunk, and one day he dies in a fight with a horse, basically. And her mother blames herself for his death because she was begging God to rid her of this embarrassing, stone around her neck. And so she decides she has to go on a pilgrimage to Santiago to see the shrine of a saint there to basically put things right. And her daughter Pascal decides to accompany her. So most of the narrative is this journey to Santiago and the people they meet along the way. And it's not all just random. There is a thread of plot going through it, but character arcs, really. But I thought the characters were all very engaging and well drawn and interesting to read about. And I thought the descriptions were often very intriguing, just as the back said. It was a unique look at something that I don't usually get to see a look of. And in terms of being a novella, I think the story arc mapped nicely to 130 pages. It was this journey from one place to another, but we also got to have enough space to learn what we needed to about the characters. So I found this very encouraging, both as a story in its own right and also as an example that the novella form can work as a form for fiction stories to take. So that about covers it for me now. You can expect more videos coming from me, fast and furious, as I'm trying to get a few out before the end of the year, and then at the beginning of the year I'll have to do one of those booktube favorites, the favorite books of the year and the anticipated ones for 2018. But I still wanted to make some room to do something a little more unique and to focus on novellas and small presses because they don't get a lot of play on BookTube, so why not on my small fry little channel? I love the popular novels and the big publishing houses as much as anyone else, though, so I'll certainly be back to talk about those, but I'm curious about anybody else who has their eye on really small presses and what intrigues them about those presses. So thanks again for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.